Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
It's Michelle.
And Mark.
Yep. And this is Mark and Michelle for Tuesday, September 3rd. And
do we normally do that?
No, but I just did it for fun. So,
we'll say 1999.
No,
2019.
Okay, it's 20 years on from 1999.
Okay, I just wanted to show you the smoothie I'm having right now. Is mango and banana and 2 small cloves of garlic. And you know what? I'm not grossed out.
I don't know, it sounds strange. You hardly notice the garlic in a fruit smoothie.
I notice it, but it kind of makes it kind of savory.
Yeah.
Do you want to taste it?
It's a mango and garlic soup.
Do you want to taste it?
No, that's all right. Thank you.
He's not interested. But I forgot to put mine in my heavy metal detox smoothie this morning. True.
We ought to film how you put a clove of garlic in a smoothie. Take about 30 seconds, so.
So don't blink.
Yeah, I know. Well, shall we move on?
Tonight, we're going to continue talking about communication with
the autistic brain.
And we're talking about emotional
Krista.
tips. Hi, Krista. Emotional tips.
Emotional tips. Suggestions. Yes. Want to start?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Mark just got home from work, so we aren't together yet.
Well, yeah, because I was in there eating, and she was in here trying to get some of these business products and things and stuff and thingamabobs together. So we haven't really sat down. And, Hi. So anyway, we'll move on to the emotional tips.
Yes.
Since that was too emotional. All right. There is a condition called alexithymia. And what that means is the inability to recognize and label your own emotions. Now, while I wasn't diagnosed with that, quite sure I had it, because I could never tell how I felt about almost anything unless I really hated it or really liked it. It had to be extreme like or hate for me to go, oh, I like that, I hate that. So, but because of alexithymia, hey Theodora, when an autistic person is interacting with an NT, you're going to find...
NT means person with a normal brain, neurotypical.
Mm-hmm. When an autistic person is interacting with an NT, they're not going to recognize all the emotions you have going across your face, so to speak, or going on in you, or they're not really going to recognize most of the emotions that are taking place in pretty much any conversation, because that just seems to be how the autistic brain works at this point. So this inability to recognize the emotions being interacted or transacted, or whatever you want to call it, includes body language, tone of voice, and facial expression. And it's funny because during my recovery, what I've noticed is that I started being able to recognize body language and go, oh, he's mad, or she's sad, or, and it was natural for my brain to do it. I didn't have to have any help doing it, recognizing it. And tone of voice, I immediately recognized the different types of emotions I'd hear in people's voices without any help doing that either. And facial expressions, I was being able to recognize facial expressions that I had previous to that never been able to recognize. It was all natural.
My favorite story is the one where you first noticed that someone liked you, and it was
yeah,
the Matt story.
Yeah. It's still kind of strange that people do that. People express their liking for you in different ways, but it's generally kind of the same. And what happened was I had gone into work. This is the first time that I ever recognized someone liking me, right? And I go into work, and I see one of the grocery managers there. And his name is Matt. And in fact, he and I work together tonight. But he was there, and he was busy putting up hummus or something in the Mediterranean section. And I walked up, and as I was walking up, I went, Matt! Because I do that to everybody. And
No, you don't.
Michelle! Okay, I
You've
do
never
that to
done that
everybody
to me
now.
ever.
Yeah, just now. And so I walked up to him, and I said, Matt, and all of a sudden he turns around, and his focus immediately turns to me, and his face lights up. I'm like, interesting. Now, I didn't stop and go, interesting. My mind did, but I didn't. But I did note that in my mind, and I'd go, huh. So that's how people like you. And what it is when people like you, they turn their attention. They may not necessarily face you, but their attention, their focus turns to you long enough to say hi and ask you how you're doing, that kind of stuff. People who don't like you don't do that. Sounds elementary, doesn't it? If it is elementary to you guys, it was not to me. And it was fascinating because then I knew, see, when I was autistic, I tried to make friends with everyone, not realizing that that's pointless. Make friends with the people who like you. Don't worry about the people who don't. Because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be liked, just like any other autistic person. But the only way I could do that for me was to lose the autism. Because I had to realize who didn't like me. And the only way I could do that was lose the autism. Because I was wasting my time trying to get people to like me who just didn't like me. And then I realized it's a waste of my time to even worry about the people who don't like me. Who cares? And now it's like, big deal. But people who like me, I make friends with. And, to a degree or another. But it was really cool to see that from Matt. But then I also see that from other people now as well. And what's funny is most people like me. And the people who don't, there's something wrong with them. So that was me recognizing the tone of voice for the first time, body language for the first time, facial expression, all at once. And my brain was able to put all of that information together all at once. And all of those layers of communication synthesized and told me, oh, Matt likes me. That's the way a brain is supposed to work. I hear autistic adults, there's no such thing as normal. Yeah, there is. You just don't know what it is. And a normal human brain is social, and a normal human brain can recognize emotions in other people and respond to those appropriately. So,
and then we're going to add that autism is an illness.
I agree. It is nothing but a medical condition. You can disagree, but do it somewhere else.
We know it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're autistic and you try to improve your health, don't be surprised if your autism goes along with your poor health. And if it does, then you'll know I'm right. It doesn't really matter that I'm right. It's just that then all of a sudden, what are you going to do? So anyway, you can disagree, but do it somewhere else. Let's see. Oh, an autistic person.
This is number 2, emotional tip number 2.
Right. An autistic person doesn't typically respond to life experience lessons. Now, that can be said about NTs as well.
Depends on how much trauma there is.
Exactly. And for me, as an autistic person, it took the same life lessons so many freaking... And I remember, even before I met her, I remember going through the same life lesson. I'm going, why is this happening again? And because I was at least aware enough to see it had come around. And so it took me maybe a dozen times or more for most of my life lessons for me to go, okay, I've got to fix this. Because life lessons usually are subtle.
I'm going to make this more concrete. So let's say I'm teaching a piece of music to a kid that has this one new concept in it. An NT kid would be able to carry that through to the next piece and not have to wonder about it. But an autistic kid, I would have to reteach it within that piece.
In the next piece.
Yes.
Right. Well, and that's true.
Life lessons are the same way.
Well, in other words, transferable skills.
Exactly.
And I didn't know I could transfer the same skills from one thing to another, from one situation to another. It took me a long time to realize that, like at work, it took me a long time to realize, oh, well, if I do this particular cut here, then I can do that same cut over here, just for a different reason. I had trouble knowing I could transfer my skills from one situation to another, like in a restaurant.
I think it's also because there's no short-term memory. So they have to get it into long-term memory. So eventually that concept will be buried so deeply into the long-term memory that it will start transferring, but it's a very slow process. It might take 12 songs.
Well, see, that's why I had to take college classes over and over again, was because it just took so long to get it into long-term memory, because my short-term memory was crap. It just didn't work. My long-term memory did, but it took a long time to get it into long-term memory. I mean, organic chemistry 7 times. I got the information, but it took maybe 3 or 4 times of taking that class to actually get it to stick, So that's what she's talking about. And that's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. Short-term memory for most folks with high functioning or moderate autism, crap, it doesn't work. And which is why a guy I was coaching, a young guy, he was in his mid-20s, and man, he couldn't remember what he had said in the previous sentence. I get it, because I could be that way. Sometimes I'm that way still, but it's not a serious impairment now. But all right, because they don't typically respond to life experience lessons or know how to transfer skills.
And that's part of why they have no sense of danger.
Good point.
Because they don't remember the things that they were taught.
Right. Well,
or it doesn't apply in this situation.
Well, like me arguing with a policeman.
Yes.
A friend of mine, he was being harassed for being homeless. And so
this was while Mark was autistic.
Exactly. So I ran outside the store and I got between him and the policeman. And I told the policeman he didn't need to be bugging this guy just because he was homeless. And I told him I thought it was unfair that he was pestering him about being homeless and not having a job. To me, how did he know he didn't have a job? Well, it kept my friend from being arrested. I later found out that my friend was carrying marijuana, so he probably would have gone to jail for a long time. But I found that out much later on. So I kind of.
And that was before marijuana was okay.
Exactly. And so, but that kept this friend of mine from getting in trouble. And man, he never forgot that. And he told everybody, man, that dude kept me from getting arrested. But
but the danger element.
Yeah, but never mind that I could have gotten arrested.
Yeah.
If the policeman had found marijuana on him, I probably could have gotten arrested.
Well, you didn't.
I did. But and I've heard of other people who have autism with no sense of danger. Like one woman we talked to recently, her child likes to run across the street without looking. He just runs out into the street, and there's no sense of danger. And so we'll make the same mistakes over and over and over and over. And this causes distress to the NT caregiver. Did it cause distress?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's distressing having to teach that way too. But I found a way to make it, okay, I got to pretend this is a clean slate. There's nothing here. I just got to think that way.
All right. Let's move on to number 3 under emotional suggestions, tips. When you are experiencing emotion as the NT, verbally state the emotion you are feeling to the autistic person.
Yes, because so often Mark didn't know where I was coming from.
No, and if she had said, look, I'm mad at you because.
I finally learned to do that after we figured out he was autistic and I did research on what autism was. But before that, I just was like,
why don't you get this?
Why don't you get this?
Well, but see, now I can see why I didn't get it. It's because now I get it. You know, it's easy to tell if a person's mad now, you know, because you can feel it make you tense. But then you see all their muscles tense up and you know, they get like this and you hear the tension in their voice and the anger and you feel it. It's prickly, you know. Couldn't notice any of that when I was autistic. And I think that's the case for most people with autism. Only because I see most of the time they get yelled at. So it must be the case.
I remember you would say, are you mad? I'd be like, duh. But I didn't say that. But how can you see that I'm not, how can you not see that I'm mad?
Well, you see now, right? But now she didn't even have to say it.
You asked me that a lot.
I know, I did. And that, and were you going to leave me? Or
yeah.
Did you still love me?
Do you still like me?
Yeah, all kinds of things. You know, all kinds of emotional
questions. And then
questions.
the weird one, what is love? And I was like, how do you explain what love is and why don't you know what it is? He would go get the dictionary and look up love, all the loves that he could find.
Yeah, just to see what it was, because I was trying to make sense of it. So, you know, for me, I was totally turned off to emotion. And I think a lot of people with autism deal with that same
thing. So that would be the alexithymia. The
alexithymia. All right. So it's still the same thing. When you're experiencing an emotion, verbally state the emotion you are feeling to your autistic person.
Like this. Mark, I'm very angry.
She's not all that angry because it just didn't come across.
But that's what you have to do.
Yeah, that is exactly what you have to do. You have to state what you're feeling.
I am very angry right now because blah, blah, blah. You have to say the why.
And then they'll still go, why?
We can make a script for you.
Right.
It just makes everything easier if you talk, if you say a lot of words.
Yeah, you have to state everything you're going through. You just do. So
I love did you see the post Marlo made today? About she'd asked her son to her 13-year-old ASD son to go get some scallions out of her flower pot.
Uh-huh.
And he came in asking for scissors and she said, just grab some. Uh-huh. And he came with 2 handfuls with the roots and all.
Uh-huh.
And she said, he did exactly what I told him to do.
Uh-huh.
This is not what I meant.
Right.
She just said thank you to him. And that was good.
You know, that's the good way to put this. Don't expect him to do what you mean.
You're right.
Expect him to do what you say.
Yes.
All right?
Meaning means nothing to them.
Right. Unless you explain your meaning. So, Taj! All right. Behavioral tips.
We're going to do that tomorrow because we're at 17, 18 minutes.
That's fine. We can cut this short. But anyway, we'll do behavioral tips tomorrow night. And there are a few things in that, and there's more to come. It's interesting.
It's fascinating.
It is. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye, Taj. It's good to see you.
And rewatch this, Taj. You'll like it.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Okay, bye, guys.
Oh, celery juice, heavy metal detox smoothie.
Yes, bye.
Bye.